Now, this is what I'm talking about. Every now and then we get a chance to go to a location and go where the action is. We want to be at these rallies that are taking place because the awakening is starting. You just mark your calendar from Memorial Day all the way to Labor Day. It's going to be the train a-coming, and I hear that train rolling down the tracks. And one of the most amazing things is to realize that the whole momentum of what's happening now is the populist backlash. And I can remember when I was on Bannon's show right during the November, election recount issue. And he was, obviously Steve Bannon was focused on the election and reversing and, exposing, fraud and all that. But out of my mouth, I just said, you watch, 2022 will be a conservative backlash. And I got all this kind of like frustrated texting from people, Lance, it's not 2022, it's going to be now. And I was saying then, it will take time. You know why? I remember like this joke I heard years ago, and I always thought it was a perfect illustration. It's like when the animals and the insects decided to have a great football game to determine who was more important. And during the first half of the game, the insects were getting squashed. It was lions and giraffes and zebras and hippopotamuses and rhinoceros just up against the bugs. And they were just being constantly, the players were just bloody and messed up. And during halftime, something happened. When the whistle went up and the game started again, and after halftime, it was like, first of all, the lions started crumbling, and then the rhinoceros is grabbing its calf, and then the giraffes were dropping the zebras. It was one player after another, and the animal side was just getting decimated. And so there was a timeout called, and there was a meeting in the middle of the field, and the animal said, who in the world just entered this game? And the insects said, well, it was the centipede. And they said, well, where was he in the first half? And they said, well, he was getting his cleats on. And that's where we're at. It takes a populist movement about the time from November 3rd till now to get its cleats on. And the news cycle has been dominated by woke corporations. You saw the Major League Baseball move out of Atlanta. You see Coca-Cola going Woca-Cola. You see the Pentagon suddenly, the military coming out woke. And you're watching one institution that we used to think was American getting taken over by liberal Marxism. And then when you're hiding out and you're watching, Fox and one other news channel or something, and they won't even touch the election for fear of suits by Dominion. And so you're saying to yourself, do we have a voice left? And suddenly the roar starts to happen. The centipede is on the field. The cleats are on. And you're seeing the Wuhan virus expose come out. And then you're seeing Maricopa County, the recount there in like 3 different categories in the audit, I should say, the forensic audit, the analysis of the actual physical ballots themselves. Everything is suddenly causing a panic on the left because it's not just there. With a 10,000 vote margin, that thing is right now about to get shaved down. And while that's happening, you've got the Fulton County, Georgia explosion taking place. And remember, these are just single counties that are showing the anomaly, showing the problem, revealing, hey, what's this about these ballots? And the information's coming out. And the next thing you know, Fulton County, once it makes its case, it ends up going into not just a Fulton County potential audit, but an entire Georgia audit. There again, 10,000 votes, but maybe 100,000 votes that are coming in from unusual sources. You've got like 20,000 that are post office box, P.O. box ballots instead of hard addresses, things that you're not supposed to have. Then something happens this weekend, which was a real game changer. And you're not hearing much about it, but you're going to. In Antrim, Michigan, Matthew DePerno, and these are all just patriot citizens. These are patriot citizens working out of their own pocket, bringing in their own forensic experts, bringing in their own cyber teams, bringing in their own analytics, where the government should have done it, where the FBI should have done it, where the Department of Justice should have done it, and they didn't do it. The the cleats are on the centipede and it's on the field. And suddenly you're watching all these anchors hobbling around and you're watching awkward press conferences because in Antrim County what they found was, and I believe it was on November 8th at 5:55 and 5:58 p.m., somebody accessed the voting records, the machinery, and was able to remotely do what we were told cannot be done. You can't hack into these voting systems. They're not Wi-Fi. You can't just go in and redirect them. And there were 2 illegal entries made that could have access to the records in order to backdate or clean up files. At that moment, it was caught. It was like caught as the cameras in Atlanta that were catching people pulling ballots out from under tables and ballots out of luggage bins. And now it's coming out. And we saw this stuff and we heard this stuff, but it was smashed. It was smashed down to silence by a conspiracy of, dare I say, technology and media and government all saying, shut up, you're a conspiracy theorist, you're crazy. But when the Wuhan virus story suddenly broke, do you understand what happened with that Wuhan story? What happened was that we're finding out that, and it wasn't just Fauci, it was who Fauci funded to do gain-of-function research. And we're all, part of the cleats is we're learning language. Gain-of-function, what does it mean? It means when you're augmenting and messing with the fundamental structure of a virus in order to plus it, to make it 5 times or 10 times more dangerous. You follow me? That gain-of-function methodology was outlawed. Trump didn't want it done, so it was taken outside the United States. It was done elsewhere. And it was done when there were 2 government personnel who, as 24 months ago, had written a caution about the protocols of lab security. Because instead of having, like, there's 4 levels of lab security, they were operating in Wuhan like a level 2. The kind of security that you would have at a high-functioning dental lab versus someone working with bioweaponry. And by the way, we were working with the Communist Party and the military. Can you imagine how gullible or naive or globalistically simple-headed you have to be to think that you can work with the Chinese Communist Party military in a bioweapons lab? And you're confident that they are not going to do something when you're not supervising? Do you see what's about to come out? Christopher Wray, our FBI director, is now having to answer the tough questions, and he's out there because the cleats are on, the populist movement. Now hear what I'm saying. The institutional high places, which for years I was preaching about, those mountaintops, those mountaintops are the institutions. We have pretty much not kept them. We haven't guarded the high places, and they've been occupied. Now they're being weaponized, occupied and weaponized, because it's a spirit world we live in. And people don't get it. But why do you think the churches were shut down? Why do you think churches are so dangerous? Why do you think freedom of speech for the preachers is what the devil really wants to shut down? Because you have no idea how many of those people that are breaking the news, that are exposing the fraud, that are funding the investigation with the elections and with the labs are actually believers. And this is what we call ninja sheep. You know, you've got your warriors out there, and people know that they're a believer, but frequently we end up getting quarantined into the conservative Christian evangelical pocket, which is one reason why my broadcast is so interesting. We have, like, right now 800,000, like 1 million people on various combined platforms. But you know what? Be honest with you. I'm a little bit too hot to handle in terms of my spirituality and religious worldview for the secular news stations, so I'm not a Newsmax guy. But at the same time, I'm a little too political for the Christian stations, so I'm, like, selectively brought on. It's this medium right here, and I'm so thankful for whatever platform you're watching on right now. You need to like, you need to subscribe, you need to stay connected with me, because it's in pure social media. It's grassroots. That's the populist movement. We in a sense, are going up the mountains. We're heading up to the institutional high places. But where's it happening? It's happening on school boards, right? It's happening in local mayor's office. It's happening now in the Senate state legislator level, which means your state senators here, where you have 20 or 30 of them. They're the ones. You have got to move towards the local. The battle is all local. And when enough local gets occupied, it starts to flip the news cycle. It's a strange thing, but suddenly you're seeing these meetings with school boards, and you're seeing court cases where there are Christians that are teachers. The one that happened up there in Virginia, which was the last week, where a phys ed teacher said, listen, I'm not going to lie to my students. I happen to be, my faith as a Christian does not allow me to endorse a worldview where I'm telling boys that they could be girls or girls that they could be boys. Well, of course, he loses his job. But then when it goes to the court, he's put back in. We're going to see more cases where courageous individuals are going to be the key actors that make a difference. Now, I'm at this turning point event right now. You're hearing a lot of ambient background noise. I'm at this convention. I don't know how many thousands of college-age, young, conservative females are there. Mostly, I would say, having a Christian background. This is the moment in the populist movement, in the awakening, when we have got to provide courage for the next generation, because that's what they're after. You and me, our generation, the most noble sacrifice we can give is to count our lives lightly and pay whatever price we need to pay so that our sons and our daughters, that the next generation doesn't have to land on Normandy because we already took out the pillboxes and the bunkers of the propaganda, of the indoctrination centers in the universities and the schools. We occupied our states. We pushed our governors and our congressmen and our state senators. We pushed them to protect America as it was founded rather than set it adrift on a socialist experiment that is becoming more and more dangerous and intolerant and divisive. Now, I would like to bring up, I'm going to check out our set here. We got our set, and we're going to be doing more broadcasts tomorrow, by the way. Charlie Kirk, the head of Turning Point, is going to be here in that seat, and we're going to have 40 minutes. Send me the questions right now. Send me the questions you want to ask Charlie. He is representative, probably, of the hope of a strong, forceful, spiritual warrior mentality taking on the big battles. Donald Trump loves him. And, oh, wait a second, my daughter just showed up. I want to get my daughter Joy. Joy finished college out here in Dallas, Texas. And she graduated there and fought her way through. And she had to go through the strangeness of the woke indoctrination that happens on the college campuses. And she had to basically, what was it like when you were at school and you wanted to go to, and I didn't realize at the time, being the unenlightened father that I was, that you happened to have picked one of the more woke, aggressive campuses, notorious in the United States for practicing, progressive practice. But you ended up with Marxism. You would tell me about courses that you took, and some of the stuff she was taking had Marxism infused in it in the weirdest places. Like
Karl Marx books were our textbook.
What was
predominantly. Karl Marx books were, like, A Communist Manifesto was one of our textbooks.
It's at college. You had to study it for what class?
I don't even remember, but it was anything involving, like, media or communications. It was pretty prominent.
Now, she was doing a media major. Now, catch this. A media major, and what they're asking her is link Karl Marx and his theories into media.
Yeah, a lot of the lectures included, like, intersectionality and basically the whole principle of victimization, I would say, was kind of interwoven into everything.
And so as a student, it has to be intimidating to speak up. Did you find a lot of students that were in agreement with you, or?
No.
No?
No. I was a minority, for sure.
For sure, okay.
For sure.
But how would you engage the professors or the classes, and did you have to just keep your identity quiet, or did you ask questions?
I think I mostly would ask questions, and then I would spend extra time on the papers for those classes, and I would basically, I would go above and beyond in articulating their argument, and then I would make it a point to dismantle it. in presenting my own. So
Wow. You
would,
guys tracking with that? So you would
yeah.
have to really make sure that you articulated back to them what they were saying.
Yeah, and this is why this is a dangerous concept for students to adhere to.
And then you would give the rebuttal.
Yeah. But I couldn't do it in a classroom setting because I felt like the times that I would ask questions or like I would speak up, I was kind of targeted. And then it wasn't good for making friends. You know, like I wasn't, so.
Yeah, it's not a strategy for the sorority, I guess.
No, it wasn't the best strategy for that.
And you didn't have a bunch of students come along behind you and go, yeah.
No, because I think like to challenge anything like that, you're basically identifying as like a racist or a supremacist or something.
I see.
So yeah, and I also had to be careful. Like I didn't wear nicer outfits or shoes or something. It would hurt my argument.
I'm so sorry. I'm distracted now because they're letting out. You guys want to get the camera over there? I mean, oh, you got it over Joy's shoulder? Hi, everybody. How are you? It's a great crowd out here.
Hello.
These are all dangerous. It's a powerful group of ladies here in this event. So who are you just listening to right now? Who was speaking? Do we know who's speaking?
Judge Janine, what's her last name?
Oh, Judge Janine. All right, so we'll stop here. Oh, they're done.
You're
they're
not.
going like this, and I'm thinking, my team is telling me, am I done? Is that all I can say? Well,
yes.
So what were you hearing in there while I was out here?
Well, I only caught the last couple minutes. So she was sharing stories. I would love to phone a friend.
Hey, you guys want to be a lifeline? Come on the show?
Come on the show.
Come on the show.
I feel like you know what you're talking about.
Just like be passionate about something. And
Come in, be passionate in here. If I can get you the microphone.
Get on in here, Melissa.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the future of America right
Melissa
now.
Reed,
Future leader,
everybody.
we don't know. I heard
Melissa
Laura
Reed.
Trump say future mayors, presidents, and governors are in that room. For all we know, these could be future presidents right now.
Right.
And we got the exclusive right here.
So she said, just follow your passion. If you're a woman, don't let any man intimidate you. Follow what you believe is important. Keep fighting for it. Don't let anything stop you. They told her she could just be a lawyer or a mom. She couldn't be both, and she was both, and successfully. So it was inspirational.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Your name is?
Melissa Reed.
Melissa Reed.
Yes.
You got a Instagram, social media handle somehow?
Yes, Melissa Reed 17.
Melissa Reed 17. Let's all support her in her, what are you going to be doing? What is your plan for?
Staying involved in politics in one way or another. So
Excellent.
Yeah.
I love it. Anyone else jumping here on what they're getting out of the conference so far? Who listened to Laura Trump? Did you hear Laura in there? Do you know what I love? The fact that Laura Trump said the family is not backing out, because they really are. The whole household is an encouragement to us, aren't they? And they're saying they're staying with it. They're not backing out. Joyous, thank you for
Yes,
joining us on our show. Do you have any
thanks for
thoughts?
the heads
You'll be
up.
on again. I just wanted to grab you while you didn't know I was going to call on you.
Yeah, I love that you did that. That was great. Didn't even know what he was gonna ask.
Pro right there.
That's pro. I don't even know if what I said made sense. That's,
Oh, well, you said
we'll
a
just
lot.
chop it up. We'll put it together. It'll be
Yeah.
great.
Made it great. Would you warn anybody
Wait,
out there who's
I would actually say if there are any students, I would take the classes you disagree with because it helps you understand the arguments more. And if you can understand the foundations of the idea you disagree with, you are a lot better at crafting your own opinion and dismantling the arguments. So
take the courses, and of course you have to be as strong, but some people could be like mixed up by those courses too.
no, that's good. I think embrace that because you have to wrestle with hard questions. Hard questions, easy life. Easy
Hard
questions.
questions, easy life. I like that. That's a great quote. All right, well, we're coming to you here again from the Gaylord Hotel in Dallas, Texas. How many people are here? How many young ladies are here? Would you say thousands?
They said 3,000.
3,000, and these are mostly college age.
And younger. I feel like there were a lot of younger people.
Jonathan.
Jonathan, get on in here, Jonathan.
Jonathan,
Bring it
come on over here for a second.
Come
here.
on, Johnny. Don't ever call him Johnny.
I'm not going to give his address. Jonathan, come on over here for a second. I'm not going to.
Just like your social media, just your hand.
Jonathan, Joe, we let Jonathan have
Yes,
that seat for a
yes.
second there. I want to.
Get on in here.
Jonathan, have a seat here.
It's the first time it's been official.
It's so welcome. Well, he's behind the scenes. He's one of our administrative whizzes that makes everything happen. He handles all my scheduling and communication with people. Jonathan, so you've been with us we had a program, it was a 7M Gen. It was your generation was a generation I wanted to start training for the future because we knew this was coming. And you've been watching the battle lines. You've been watching our own ministry engagement. And what would you say to your generation out there about how they have to engage living their faith in their life based on what you've observed over the last couple of years in the culture war and the ministry world that we're in?
Oh, goodness. I'd say priority number one, especially with faith, is staying grounded in Scripture, because that's exactly what you were saying before with Joy, of taking the hard classes, but to not be so influenced by the world when you are asking the hard questions is to be grounded in Scripture, because that's where you're going to find truth. That's where you're going to find objective truth that will help answer those hard questions. So get the hard questions from the world, but find your answers in Scripture.
Find your answer. I like this. I like the theme I'm seeing here, which is understand the crafting of the which I think the Apostle Paul referred to them as like their deceitful doctrines or philosophies. Understand the architecture, because they are easy to dismantle if you can understand and articulate them. But you have to have an ultimate reference point. And contrary to what people think that are biblically illiterate, the Bible actually has some very profound, almost surgical insights that go right to the marrow of where a great deal of the deception is. And by the way, you're a single male, as I recall. And I just want to tell all of you something which is very important, muy importante. And that is that you need to not settle for less than the very best. You don't have to, don't ever, I always tell young ladies especially, don't think you're going to change the guy and make him into what you want. Well, I can work with him. You don't have to settle for that. And if you're clear on your views, your values, and your opinions, I think it's a lot easier to find and identify with someone who shares those values and opinions, because I can tell you, with 35 years of marriage, the most important decision you'll ever make after you become a believer is who you do your life with. It's going to have the biggest effect. And so, Jonathan, any thoughts on that subject at all you want to share?
No, I completely agree with everything you just said. If you don't know your own values, it's impossible to find someone who shares them. So figure out yourself first, and before you know it, God will bring someone next to you that is running at the same pace and in the same direction. And just because you're a Christian doesn't necessarily mean that you share all of the same values or are even necessarily traveling at the same pace. So figure those things out first, and then God will bring that person to you.
And it's a law of attraction. Now, let me just say this, and I don't know why I'm saying this, but parents, you maybe need to tell your children this, because I have older demographics sometimes listening to me. Now, listen, I always tell, I haven't done this in years, so it must be coming back to me now for a reason. I used to tell young women that I would coach about future marriage and stuff, I'd say, pray for your spouse. You don't have to know who they are before you pray for them. In fact, pray for them because God has someone, and you're praying for them right now may be protecting and keeping them for the future. And it really is a sobering thought. Now, I remember hearing one preacher talk about it. The argument for sexual fidelity or purity is this. You're going to be with someone, one person. If the person you're with right now is not the person you're going to be spending your life with, then you are intimate with someone else's spouse before they meet them. How about thinking about that? They're not single. There's probably somebody else's spouse. So you want to make sure that God leads you to the right person. I believe the generation that is meeting right now is the most formidable and important matchmaking in heaven that has ever happened in America, because you literally are fighting for the survival of your own nation and your own civilization. So thank you, Jonathan, for being who you are.
Thanks for having me on, Lance.
All right. We'll be coming back to you a little bit later with some more dynamic interviews live from the Gaylord Hotel in Dallas, Texas, where Turning Point is taking place. And we're going to be here tomorrow. That's right, tomorrow, not tonight. Tomorrow. All right, I'll see you then.